What happens when a historian designs clothing for the future? Costume design can be so much more than just adornment. When done well, it can be a bridge between eras, a visual narrative that blurs the lines between time, space, and even realities. A medium which connects the viewer to the fantasy of cinema, where we forget our own world and are asked to step into another. But sometimes, the costumes from a film move beyond the screen, and we begin to see the effects of it ripple across the masses, influencing trends and the fashion industry as a whole. But few films have been able to reach the social and cultural impact on fashion like Dune has. Following the release of the first film in 2021, we soon began to see many designers playing into the modern medieval aesthetic Dune popularized. Dusty earth tones, chainmail, romantic flowing fabrics, and architectural yet elegant gowns, from high-end designers to streetwear labels like Minimal and Heliot Emile. Elements from Dune's costume design found their way into everyday life, while designers like Rick Owens served as both inspiration for Dune and was subsequently inspired by its aesthetics in turn. The symbiotic relationship between Hollywood and the fashion industry is clear, and having such a visionary team on board allowed Dune to set itself apart from the multitude of films released each year, leaving a giant cultural footprint in its path. Speaking not only to the merits of the director, Denis Villeneuve, but of course to the costume designer, Jacqueline West, and costume supervisor, Bob Morgan as well. After all, Dune's journey to the big screen is itself a saga of perseverance, and was once deemed unfilmable, with David Lynch's 1984 adaptation being subsequently disowned by him. But after seeing the success of Dune Parts 1 and 2, this saga will potentially be the new generation's Lord of the Rings in terms of cultural significance, and I believe it was Jacqueline West's extensive knowledge of historic dress and dedication to authenticity that truly brought the universe of Dune to life in a way that resonated globally. However, before Dune, her portfolio was largely focused on historical projects. She had never designed for a science fiction film before. Yet each project she touched became a time capsule, meticulously capturing the essence of bygone eras. When Denis Villeneuve initially approached Jacqueline for Dune, she refused, stating that she doesn't do science fiction. But in the words of Plato in the Republic, only those who do not seek power are qualified to hold it. A sentiment meant for politicians, but I think can be applied here as well. The fact that Jacqueline West had exclusively worked on historical projects was the exact element which made her perfect for this role. It's often the unexpected match that sparks brilliance, and sometimes the biggest fan of a piece of media, or the one who wants the position the most, is not the person who should be in charge of its fate. Villeneuve understood that the costumes of Dune had to resonate with our shared human history to truly captivate a global audience. The closer these threads of connection, the deeper the audience's immersion into the narrative. Being set on another planet 10,000 years in the future, one of the only things truly relatable between us today and the characters of Dune, besides political rivalries and the human emotions being experienced by the main characters, like love and loss, is the evolution of our customs of dress throughout time. The fundamental purpose of costume and clothing has always been and will always be to adorn and decorate, to signify status or rank, to protect from the elements or battle, to identify a group or faction, and of course, for modesty. And these themes, having been incorporated expertly into the costume design by West, serve to enrich the visual narrative before our eyes and deepen our connection to the characters in this world light years and millennia away from our own. Persuaded to join by Villeneuve's grand vision for these films, Jacqueline West set out on a journey of her own, with Bob Morgan by her side to execute the production of 2,000 separate, distinct costumes, each telling a story of its own, to honor Frank Herbert's original vision while creating visually striking designs believable in the universe in both form and function, and hopefully to change the global fashion landscape in the process. So now let's go more in depth at the costumes of Dune Part 1 and exactly what makes them so great. The movie began with the establishing conflict, the Harkonnens farming the spice of Arrakis, while the Fremen lie in wait to ambush the spice harvesting ships, each faction bearing their ideological and visual identities. The Fremen, inspired by the resilient Bedouin people, Bedouin meaning desert dwellers, nomadic Arab tribes with rich culture and intense loyalty to family. Their wrappings of gauze and linen a shield against the relentless sun and sand. Their iconic stillsuits a testament to Fremen ingenuity, recycles bodily fluids into clean water, enabling survival when faced with scarcity. These elements of dress, from the gauze to the stillsuits, not only serve as utilitarian pieces, but also as camouflage, an homage by Jacqueline to the French resistance fighters of World War II against the Nazis, where guerrilla tactics and camouflage were paramount in battling and overcoming an oppressive military force. On the other side of the spectrum, we have the Harkonnens, the main antagonists of the story. Leeching off the land, Jacqueline did not look at history for the visual influences on the Harkonnen dress, instead taking inspiration from insects and arachnids to highlight their ruthless exploitation of Arrakis' resources and the Fremen people, achieving visual cohesion between their parasitic behavior, motivations, dress, and even architecture. Dark, domed face shields evoked the ominous black eyes of ants, symbolizing their hive mind mentality. Faceless fighters working towards a common ethos, resource control, domination, subjugation, reflecting the stark Harkonnen reality of a natural Darwinian hierarchy, survival of the fittest. And at the peak of this hierarchy stands the Baron. A character of unexpected visual origins, Jacqueline and Denis found inspiration for the essence of the Baron Harkonnen in an iconic cinematic figure, Marlon Brando's Colonel Kurtz from Apocalypse Now. Big, bald, and brutal, the blueprint for Stellan Skarsgård's portrayal. A character who would do anything to win, with calculated brutality, detached from mercy or humanity, while savoring each small moment of violence along the way. Jacqueline's vision for the Baron was to create an imposing presence, both figuratively and literally. His body, too massive to support itself, is elevated by suspensors, allowing him to float above his subjects, a symbol of his superiority. His long black silk cloak extends to the ground like a pillar, a ghostly appearance intentionally designed to unsettle yet captivate, an arresting, palpable quality during his confrontation with Duke Leto as the Baron glides across the long monastic table, a weightless specter. The Baron's dark, striking costume plays a pivotal role in establishing him as a powerful, dangerous villain. The Sardaukar emerge in Dune as the elite Imperial warriors, embodying the religious fervor of the Knights Templar and the ferocity of veteran gladiators. Jacqueline wanted to establish these fighters as the only force capable of matching the Fremen in combat prowess, instead of adorning them in bulky metal plate armor like the Harkonnens, who overpower with brute force. The Sardaukar prefer function and flexibility, opting for thin, cool gray battle-worn armor, allowing for quick reactions in combat, while their dedication to violence is represented in the insignia of the 3 bloody stripes, not to be confused with Monster Energy. Rows of human sacrifices lining cold, concrete slabs. The blood from these victims is used to mark their suits and foreheads in a pre-battle ceremony, a testament to their dedication and religious zeal, violence breeding violence. Formidable adversaries for Paul and the Fremen, an army which embodies skill and precision, loyal to the Emperor. The House Atreides stands as the embodiment of humane ethics and a principled monarchy, where Jacqueline's approach to their costumes was rooted in historic military dress. She understood how important it was for the Atreides to resemble modern humans in fashion and environment, in order for the audience to feel true connection to the Atreides' rise and fall. The themes of their natural environment echoed in the Atreides uniforms, a cool, earthy color palette on elegantly tailored looks, a fusion of modern and historic military attire. For the Atreides uniforms, Jacqueline looked at the Romanovs for inspiration, the ruling imperial house of Russia for 300 years, specifically focusing on the end of their reign with Nicholas II. Uniforms which exude strict grace and taste, featuring a fitted Mandarin collar, curved at the spread and adorned with gold embroidery, the asymmetrical center front breast standard for the Romanovs became a point of difference for Jacqueline's interpretation. Defining the Atreides uniform with a standard center front closure and placket, Jacqueline appealed to Western tailoring practices while maintaining that connection to historic military aesthetics. And while Tsar Nicholas's military dress was adorned with gold epaulettes and ceremonial awards, among other eye-catching adornments, Jacqueline wanted the Atreides to feel more down-to-earth through the simplification of their accessories, with a focus on strict, reserved tailoring, lacking excessive embellishment. She emphasized the selfless sense of honor and duty the Atreides live by. When the Atreides are called upon, they answer, no matter the risk. And when they arrive on Arrakis, they do so in their battle armor, a symbol of their readiness to face the trap they are walking into. Layered, angular plates of cool, slate-gray metal echoes the rocky cliffs of their homeworld, yet even amidst the uncertainties of their duty on Arrakis, there is a beacon of hope and strength beside them, the bright spot of color on a strange new world for Duke Leto and Paul, Lady Jessica. Lady Jessica's attire on Caladan can be characterized by cool and dark hues, representative of her reserved, calculated, and observant nature. During the arrival of the Emperor's messengers, Lady Jessica is adorned in ceremonial dress of a lightweight aqua blue long-sleeve chiffon and silk dress with silver inlay motifs and embroidery. Jacqueline allowed the ceremonial costume to give Jessica's character a more withdrawn, observational performance in line with her Bene Gesserit role, reflecting her duality as a powerful figure among the Atreides and as a supportive partner to Duke Leto. Beyond the ceremony, Jessica's standard dress on Caladan is much more simple and, as Wes puts it, austere, saying, "I wanted her outfits to be both compellingly nun-like, but also appropriate for a courtesan." Minimalistic, draped gowns of silk jersey in black and red, a mix of body contouring silhouettes, and oversized draped hoods allowed her to slip in and out of the many shadows of the dark palace halls. A nun-like appearance, monastic yet effortlessly elegant. Gowns I believe Jacqueline West referenced Azzedine Alaya's iconic designs for. Fitted skirts and bodices with graceful transitions into draped and wrapped swaths of luxurious, lightweight fabrics giving dimension to her appearance, elongating the body and giving Lady Jessica a sense of understated power and authority. With Jacqueline's careful attention to detail and her knowledge of fashion history, Lady Jessica's wardrobe became a visual expression of her complexity, strength, and the many layers of her roles as a mother to Paul, partner to Leto, and a member of the Bene Gesserit. When Jessica arrives on Arrakis, her appearance undergoes a noticeable shift, demonstrating her ability to visually adapt to any culture, a trait of her Bene Gesserit upbringing. Wrapped and veiled in 15 meters of flowing chiffon, fitted in a sleeveless silk crepe gown, adorned in intricately beaded facial jewelry and modern medieval lattice chainmail, Jessica stakes her ground on Arrakis as that beacon of light for Leto and Paul on this barren, unfamiliar world. As events begin to unfold and Duke Leto's fate looms, Jessica adopts a more reserved look, a modern take on the medieval chemise and tunic, with turned-back blio sleeves, a fitted bodice, and draped stand collar detail mirroring the Atreides military uniforms. Her darker, more somber color palette here perhaps foreshadows the upcoming sense of loss she will face at the death of Leto. Wardrobe shifts which not only hint at Jessica's adaptability to new environments, but also towards her knowledge of the impending challenges that face the Atreides, as she likely sees the Bene Gesserit's work coming to fruition around her. West drew inspiration from various historical and contemporary elements to craft a distinct look for the Bene Gesserit, where their manipulative yet strategic nature was shown visually through dress. Sturdy and uncompromising, the Bene Gesserit costumes resemble chess pieces, a symbol of their slow, calculated moves over the course of generations to shape the universe according to their grand schemes, planting myths and prophecies into culture and influencing intergalactic politics through sly manipulation from the shadows behind their dark beaded veils, layered hoods, and black cocoons of fabric. looks which conjure up the Renaissance artworks of Giotto and the dark Spanish romanticism of Francisco Goya, artists who Jacqueline looked to for inspiration while designing the Bene Gesserit costumes. Influences evident in the structured headpieces and draped robes typical of religious dress, exuding an aura of authority and calculated manipulation behind veiled ambitions. The costumes of the Bene Gesserit take on an occult-like quality, with clear influence from the designer Rick Owens and the distinctive brutalist architectural aesthetic of his work, culminating in striking silhouettes of organic shapes complete with harsh, angular accents and delicately beaded embroideries. The blend of influences which make up the overall composition of the Bene Gesserit costume symbolize the distillation and reductivist nature of religion in the Dune universe. The development of Paul Atreides' costumes mirrors the growth of his character, the classic hero's journey reflected in each stage of his dress. On Caladan, as the young heir to the Duke's throne, his military uniform reflects the Duke's, minus the embroidery denoting rank. My personal favorite costume of Paul's, and what he appears to be most comfortable in, is his standard Atreides uniform garment, the Zhivago shirt. This traditional Russian garment, known as a kusovorotka, was popularized by the 1965 film Dr. Zhivago. The function of the skewed collar was to prevent necklaces and pendants, often Christian crosses, from falling out of the shirt when the wearer would bend over during physical labor. Jacqueline modernized the shirt by replacing the typical buttons on the Zhivago with rare earth magnets, giving the Atreides casual uniform garments a minimalistic look, rooted in the function and practicality of historic garments, as well as rooting Paul in the common struggle, a relatable character unafraid to get his hands dirty. After Paul adopts the still suit on Arrakis, he takes the next step on the hero's journey, the acceptance of adventure and the path towards his ultimate destiny. Here, the meticulous attention to detail in the design of the stillsuits is evident, thanks to the conceptualization by artist Keith Christensen, which served as the foundation for Jacqueline West and Bob Morgan to bring these iconic suits to life. Despite the singular design of the stillsuit, the construction and effort that went into the dozens of suits produced was anything but standard. Each stillsuit was made to fit the actors perfectly, each variation customized with the individual charms and talismans to bring personality and character to each Fremen warrior, visual reminders of why they are fighting and who they are fighting for. With the Bedouin people being a main source of inspiration for Jacqueline, the elegance of their dress was achieved with the addition of lightweight gauze in the colors of the desert, adding a needed sense of romance to the Fremen and Paul's costume, which when lifted up by the breeze created a beautiful contrast against the bespoke stillsuit and the vast sandy landscape, a dramatic interplay between texture, value, and weight. And these gauze wrappings served as a way to lean closer into the underlying character reference behind Jacqueline's inspiration for Paul, Lawrence of Arabia. Dune's unique blend of science fiction and medieval aesthetics, seamlessly woven together through meticulous research and expertise in historical dress from costume designers Jacqueline West and Bob Morgan, while respecting the original vision of Frank Herbert's novel, pushed the boundaries of cinema and costume design, resulting in a remarkable adaptation that understandably resonated with audiences worldwide. Dune stands as a testament to the impact of thoughtful costume design, joining the ranks of other groundbreaking works such as The Lord of the Rings and Alien, works of art which immersed audiences in fear, adventure, sadness, and joy through the shared passion of craft and a dedication to challenging the status quo of what costume design and cinema can achieve. And that's what happens when you hire a historian to design clothing of the future.